Hi guys. Only took me like 30 minutes to get this thing to start working today. That's an exaggeration, but it took a while. So hey, we're finally going to be going through the research topics assignment. You can tell I haven't spoken to actual people in a while. We're going to be doing that. And after that, after go through a little review of what I'm expecting out of the actual assignment, I'll walk you through the FIU Library system and hopefully give you some sort of guidance on how to do research, practical research at FIU. So if you open the research topics assignment up, which you can go to, let me find it. It should be under the general canvas for our class. And then somewhere in there where you turn in all of your assignments and whatnot, there's a researchtopics.docx that you can open up and download and use that as the template for finishing this assignment. So it's there. And when you open it up, you're going to see that I want you to do 3 different topics, because I want you to think about different things that you would want to research. So you can pick 3 completely different things, or you could pick one related topic and just 3 different kinds of experiments you might do with it. Meaning, if you were really interested in personality, maybe you could look at personality in adolescence, maybe personality in adulthood, maybe personality in geriatric psychology, something like that. So they don't have to be totally unique, but you do want them to be different enough that you can do each one of these parts for each one of the assignments. So I want you to come up with a title for your study. Titles should be as brief as you can make them and as informative as you can make them at the same time. So you want to avoid small filler words. They don't have to be complete sentences. You're going to want to look for like maybe 3 or 4 words within that title that's going to be the main gist of what you're trying to get at with this research assignment, because it's going to end up going up on the header of your page and being essentially what people see the first time that they look at your document, whatever it is that you're writing up. So my dissertation, the long is the impact of episodic memory and stress on encoding in the workplace. And my short little thing that I end up putting at the top is just episodic memory in the workplace. Boils it down to what it's really about. So you don't need to have this really long title, but it should tell you what you want to do. So that's number 1, come up with a title. Sometimes you come up with a title after you finished everything else. That's what I do. So part 2, study summary, at least 1 paragraph of background information. So what I want you to do here is put together some actual research-backed ideas behind what it is that you want to research. So if I was to take my dissertation, it kind of look a little bit like an abstract. It should be from the beginning to the end, the briefest way you could summarize what your study is going to be about. And part of this is identifying your dependent and independent variables. So your independent variables being the things that you're going to manipulate in your proposed study, and the dependent, the outcome that you expect to happen from the manipulation. So it could be anything, you pick what they are, just make sure that they make sense. You should have had some sort of course where they talked about independent and dependent variables already. So you probably already know what that is. If not, look it up. So you're going to give me a background. You're going to tell me what the variables are going to be. And then you're going to do a proposed study design. And what I mean here is not that you need to tell me from beginning to end exactly what you're going to do in your study. But I want you to start getting an idea of how you would do research in the areas that interest you. So do you want to do a qualitative study or a quantitative study? Meaning, is most of the data that you would get written out in words? Like, are you doing diary studies or other things where people are going to write out long answers? Or are you going to give them some sort of scale? Like from 1 to 7, how is this much like you? 1 being not at all, 7 being extremely, sort of deal. So that is how would it actually be set up? Would it be a survey or would it be in person? So are you going to have people go through a list of measures and they just kind of answer questions, and then you use that data to generalize some sort of idea of whether your hypotheses are supported? Or would it be more of something where you have to have people in person come in and actually run a study? Because those are extremely difficult, and not gonna lie, more often than not, research done at FIU, especially at a graduate level, tends to stick more towards the things we can do via survey, because it is extremely expensive and time consuming to have somebody come in person. You have to train people to actually interact with the participants, because you don't want to be the person that's dealing with your participants all the time, because you can grossly influence whatever study it is that you're going to be doing. You want to have some distance from that. You got to train them. You've got to make sure everybody is equal, that the settings are appropriate for what study you're going to do and whatnot. So I want you to give me a small synopsis of that, 3-4 sentences, whatever it is. Then I want you to tell me what the importance of your study is going to be to psychology or the related field. So even though this is careers in psychology, we've identified that a lot of you have aspirations beyond psychology. So if you're one of the people that is doing one of the therapy programs, like whether it's psychology therapy or speech therapy or occupational therapy, you can go in and do some of these research topics outside of psych. But you still have to tell me why it's something that's important. Because when you get into research or research methods or any of the classes where you could ever potentially use these topics towards actually fleshing out a study, it's very important to identify what is the unique contribution that your study is going to make to the field that you are trying to contribute to. And then the last thing is links to 3 articles you might use for your literature review. So for a lot of people, writing the lit review is one of the hardest parts of doing research, because you have to somehow find the collection of things that people have already done in the subject area that you want to look into. So you have to build a timeline for everyone of what's happened before and why have the things that happened before made you think that your hypotheses will come back a certain way in your experiment. So if you were looking at personality in childhood, I know one of the things when I did an undergrad was personality in only children. So with only children tending to be introverts versus multiples tending to be more extroverted. And I had to go look at research on both personality and prior research on only children and really tie in why I thought that personality types would differ between only children and people who had siblings. So you're going to go and you're going to find 3 articles that might be useful to you. So you'll see topic 1, topic 2, topic 3. You're going to do this 3 times. I don't want you to go through this and feel really stressed out or think that this is really an intimidating assignment. The purpose of me wanting you to do this is so that when you do go into methods, if you haven't taken it yet, or you do go into maybe some sort of senior research or just a class that's pretty flexible and wanting you to come up with your own topics, you already have this ready to go. You're set, and it alleviates that work from you, and you can just hit the ground running with that sort of stuff. You're going to see this at some point. Better you do it now under my careful supervision. So in terms of the assignment, it's very simple. It's very straightforward. That was it. Nothing too crazy. So in terms of the FIU library, I wanted to do this in a way where you could see what I was doing, but apparently I can't do that and live stream at the same time. And I also don't have a computer that supports uploading videos without live streaming. So I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. So you're just going to have to open a browser and follow along with me if you want me to walk you through the FIU library system. So you're going to go to library.fiu.edu. And if you're on campus using a library computer or any computer on campus that uses the FIU Wi-Fi, it's going to automatically let you log in. But if you're doing this at home like I am, you're going to have to go, Well, first you're going to go down to, you should log in and see Discovery, Catalog, eJournals, Repository, whatnot, and then a Search Everything box. So down there, there's a link that says Log in for access. So you're going to click on that, clicking on this now. My computer's a little slow at home. So you can do this one of two ways. You can sign in with what you normally sign into your FIU email with, or you can sign in using your library card number, which is on the back of your Panther ID. So if you flip it around, there's a 14-digit number that you can use to log in. The first time you do it, you have to make a separate password for it. It's just much easier for you to log in with your email. I mean, it's just a simpler way to do it. So I've signed myself in now, and it's going to take you right back to the home page. But when you click on links now, it's going to let you actually access things. So it's going to click me over there. All right. So go back down to that same yellow thing where you found the link for login for access, and go over to the Find tab. So go down to the A to Z list and click on that. And when you get there, you're going to see all the things that pop up are different journals that you can go and search for research articles in. So when you're going to do research for papers using the FIU online library, you're not looking for books. Almost any research that you do in psychology at a college level is not going to involve books. It's going to involve articles from peer-reviewed journals. So these are all different journals that you can look at. So there's different ones that you can use in psychology, but there's two primary ones that you're going to find under the P link. So go ahead and you click on P. And it's easier. Once you get the hang of it, you can just go search the database for the journal that you want. But when you click on P, you can scroll down. It's in alphabetical order. You're going to stop when you hit the things that start with psych. So for general psychology research, you can use this one that's called Psych Articles if you really want to. So if you can't find something in any other database, that's one that we typically use in psych. But the primary thing that you do research in, at least trends like this at FIU, is something called Psych Info. So you'll see there's two different Psych Infos. There's one with a little lock next to it, and then another Psych Info link that I don't really know what that does. You're going to click on the one with the lock next to it, and you're going to open that up. It's going to take you a minute. It's taking me a minute, but it's okay. So now you'll just see a bunch of empty boxes, and Psych Info expects you to know exactly how to research and find what it is that you're looking for. So if you wanted to look for something specific, so say you wanted to look for, I don't know why, but cognitive dissonance is my topic of the semester. So say you want to look for cognitive dissonance. You're going to go and you're going to use the quotation marks, and they're going to put cognitive dissonance with, the space between the two words, and then end with the other quotation mark. And you can choose where exactly you want that term to pop up. You can pull down that menu and you can see abstract, author, title, whatever. And it shows you the little abbreviations so that you don't have to type things out. So if I wanted to look for cognitive dissonance as an author, say I wanted to find an author whose name was cognitive dissonance, that would be kind of funny. I could then type just the capital letters AU next to it and search. But we want to find it anywhere. For the most part, you're going to want to find it anywhere until you've gotten used to using the system, and you can go in and do this with your hands tied behind your back. So you can click search from there, and you'll see that a billion things pop up about cognitive dissonance, 3,437 results. It shows you a little brief thing of where the words are highlighted. It's showing you basically what the article looks like, where it says cognitive dissonance. And then you see the title, the name of the authors, the year, different information about the publication. So you want to go over to where it says sorted by, and it says relevance, and you want to start going through this list. So what you specifically want to look at for most research projects that you're going to do, it does say books. Even though I said we're not using books, it will show you the name of a book. But you're not going to be able to access that book through the FIU online library system. You'll be able to figure out where it is. You'll be able to see if it's in the, I still call it University Park, but the MMC campus, or if it's at the BBC campus, or if they'd have to order the book for you and whatnot. Sometimes the book is so relevant that you want to go and get it just for reference, but most of the things that you want to include are just in this scholarly journal category. If you're doing more exploratory research, because you're not even really sure, if we're looking at cognitive dissonance, who's even researched cognitive dissonance before? Who are these social psychologists and cognitive psychologists that have done this? I have no idea. So you could then include the dissertation and thesis section, because those are going to be a much bigger, broader source of information for you. They're going to be like these 200-300 page documents with tons and tons and tons and tons of resources that summarize a much broader amount of information. But your primary source is going to be scholarly journals. So that cuts down over 1,000 irrelevant things now that you don't have to look for. So now you can go and scroll through. I don't know what comes up first for you, but it looks like something German or Scandinavian is the first thing that pops up for me. And so you scroll down, you can look one by one if you want to do it that way. I usually do it that way just because I want to see everything. I don't want to miss out. But you can go over to the same place where you just sifted into scholarly journals over, and you can go to the publication date link. So if you only want the most relevant things on cognitive dissonance, you only want it from 2010 to 2019, you can take the little date range thing, slide it on over, and then select, which cuts it down to, looks like 50 things now that it has. Cognitive dissonance in, 626. Cognitive dissonance in social work, impulse buying and cognitive dissonance, lots of things that are much more modern. So now, maybe this helps you out, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's a little too specific and whatnot. So usually what you're going to want to do when you do research, and you can keep the same link open when you do this, is go up to that search bar where it says cognitive dissonance. And then between two terms, you're going to want to put and, just write and, not in quotation marks. And then whatever other thing you want to search for it with together. And this will give you the result of articles that only have both of those things in them. So cognitive dissonance and, they gave me an idea, shopping. So in quotation marks, I'm going to put shopping. And now hopefully something pops up, 9 results. Impulse buying and cognitive dissonance, demystifying deliberate counterfeit purchase behavior, on and on and on and on. So you can add endless amounts of things to this. You could say and in quotation marks, and in quotation marks, and in quotation marks, on and on and on. And it's really, really narrow these things down to something that has everything that you're looking for. But that's probably not going to work. And one of the reasons is that there's not a largely standardized way of phrasing a lot of the things that you want to look for. So in psychology, there might be different ways of saying cognitive dissonance, and maybe the article that is the gold mine of what you're looking for phrases it a different way. So if you go and you click on this first link, impulse buying and cognitive dissonance, it's going to give you the abstract, and then you'll see full text and full text PDF at the top, and then a download PDF link to the right. If you wanted to get this article and you wanted to read the entire thing, you would do that. It would pop you up, it would give you a link, it would ask you how you wanted to download it, and it's pretty easy from there. But then if you go into the details, you see subject, cognitive dissonance, consumer behavior, impulsiveness, shopping, students, traveling. So from there, you can see some other related terms for what you might want to be looking for. So if you're looking at cognitive dissonance and shopping, you're probably looking at how cognitive dissonance relates to people's buying tendencies. So one of the things you might want to search for, and you can literally click on this link and it will show you what relates to consumer behavior, but those things might be other things that you want to look for. So you want to use each one of these articles to branch out to other articles from it. So it gives you also where it was published, information about the authors, different ways to contact the authors, gives you a lot of different stuff. So maybe, and it even shows you on the side, related items, other articles that either people searched for at the same time as this article, or the AI of the FIU library thinks that you're going to want to go and look at now. But there's different things that you can read over in that corner. So if this article seems extremely relevant to you, you specifically want to look at impulse buying and cognitive dissonance. And this article is it. It's the thing that talks about that. When you download it, a good tactic to find other related articles is to go down to their references section and find the different titles and skim through them and see if any of those titles stand out to you as something that's relevant to what you want to do. So if you opened up this document, which I'm not going to download it, don't make me do it. But if you go through it, it might have something that's really relevant to what you want to do. So you can go back, click on basic search again. It'll let you enter the basic search terms. But just to show you the difference, if you go in and in your quotations, you put cognitive in one quotation and then put and then dissonance in the other quotation, and you search for that, you've got quite a few results. And while some of them might show cognitive and dissonance together as one phrase, there are articles that might just talk about dissonance and might also feature the word cognitive somewhere in the article. So you're going to start to get more irrelevant things. That's why you want to put the entire term into that one quotation marks. Let's see, what else do I think is super relevant? I've lost the people that were actually watching this live. So I'm going to be talking to myself a little bit. We'll see. What did I think was especially helpful? So if you know, so maybe you're in research and you actually know who the authors are, but you don't know what the actual title is, so you just want to look by the authors. You can go back to that advanced search, and then you could type that author name in. So let's say Bandura. He does social psychology stuff. He's talked about cognitive dissonance. We can click on author, and then you can search like that. And it'll show you everybody who has the last name Bandura, Bandura, and what articles they have. And again, you can sort it by timeline. You could sort it out by the type of journal it's in, what the publication title is, whatnot. You can even look at how many times something has been cited. When you're going through this, though, you want to look for the little find it at FIU link and click on that. And before you get emotionally invested in something that you're looking up, you need to go click on that find it at FIU link. Because I just clicked on the very first one for Bandura, and it's not an FIU. So you click at find it at FIU, and it says, we found 0 matching items at Florida International University, which means that FIU does not subscribe to the specific journal that has that information, or that particular volume of the journal you're currently searching through. So, and there are no additional ways to narrow your results. You may remove selections or initiate a new search. So this happens a lot of times, at least to me personally. Maybe for other people it doesn't. But you can find this great article. It looks like it's going to tell you so many things. It does these unique studies that you just want to look at, and you go click and find it at FIU, and it's not there. You can request that FIU get that article, and they will. It's going to take some time. But if you find the ISBN number or the particular title of the document and whatever, you can speak to somebody at the library and they will be able to get that document for you. They will purchase it specifically for you and get you access to it. So don't think that anything is beyond your reach. It's just going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt in the process of getting it. Sometimes an article just looks that worth it. Now, if you try to search through PsycInfo without logging into FIU first, every time you click on one of these, it's going to take you to a link to download it. But since you're not accessed through FIU, who is a subscriber to these different journals and journal databases, it's going to ask you for like 30, 40, 50, 100 different dollars to subscribe to the journal or get that particular article. You don't want to do that. You want to log in through FIU, and even if they don't have specifically what you're looking for, or that article, like I said, is not something you can find at FIU, they can get it for you. So don't ever go and pay money to these journals for it. Sorry to any journals out there who are currently watching this. FI gives you a lot of money, so don't hate on us. That is my quick little overview of the library. And once you start doing your research, I have a particular tactic when it comes to going through the research articles that I go and look for. I download them all into one file. I don't even open them. I just rapid fire. I download everything that seems like it's going to be relevant. As the same way that I shop for clothing, which makes people that travel with me to stores very frustrated, because I literally walk through whatever section that's relevant to me, and I just grab things and start throwing them into the cart on my way to the dressing room. Pew, pew, pew. That looks good. All right, throw it in there. 6 different sizes, throw them all in. Whee! And then I get to the dressing room, and then I try it all on and find out that only 1 or 2 of the things that I took in out of the 100 that I have now hung back up diligently, because I'm not a mean dressing room person. Yeah, only a couple of them actually fit, which is what you'll see when you do those sorts of searches. But it's better to narrow it down from a very wide thing into those couple of things than to try to find those couple of things in a needle in a haystack. That's my philosophy. So once you get the articles, what I would do, and what's always been easiest for me in terms of building a literature review, is to open up a Word doc, title it whatever the title of your study is going to be, and do all of your article reviews in that one document. So instead of thinking, I want to write about cognitive dissonance and shopping behavior, and then you sit down at a blank document where you start trying to write a paper, it's pretty difficult to get your ideas and format them onto a blank canvas. So if you start off with breaking down the journal articles into its main points, it's going to give you some structure. It's going to give you some idea of how other successful articles have structured themselves, because it takes a lot to get into these journals, and it gives you something to pull from when you do start writing. So the most helpful thing for you to do, because you have to cite every article that you use in a research project. So I would write out the full citation of the article. Last name of the people, the year, the title, the journal, the publication number. I will post a document. You'll see it's called Paper Guidelines, and it has sample citations in it. Citations are not that difficult once you figure out which one is actually correct. A lot of different people write them a lot of different ways. But start off with the citation, and then you'll have the title of whatever the document, whatever the article is. For me, I also put whatever I saved the document as. So when I save them, or when you save them for the library, sometimes they just save as a sequence of nonsensical numbers that's like this wide on your computer screen, and it's hard to differentiate between the articles. You might lose them sometimes. So I tend to take like a keyword or two from the article, and then the main author's last name, and use that as whatever I'm going to headline each one of those things with. And then start a bullet point list. When you see something that's relevant or interesting to you in that article, summarize it in your own words in some sort of bullet point thing. And you can put the page number after the bullet point if you think it's going to be necessary. And if something that's in the article is so important that summarizing it in your own words or coming up with your own ideas just isn't good enough, you know that you want to copy it the exact same way that they said it, because they said it the best ever. Put it in quotation marks in your bullet point thing, and then put, the page number after it so you can go back and find it again and make sure that you're citing it appropriately. So I would go through the discussions, because that's going to tell you a history of what these people went through before they made the particular article that you're reading. Very important to go through that. You can go through the methodology and results section, but for your level of what you're going to be doing in research, that stuff might be a little bit over your head until you go into research methods. So for just the main ideas of things, you're going to find the bulk of them in the lit review, in the abstract. The abstract will tell you the overall thing of the experiment, and in the discussions. Those are the big bookmarks of any article. The lit review, and then the discussion at the end. It's going to tell you everything that's existed prior to that experiment, and then what that experiment contributed to the field of whatever it is that you're looking for. It's going to tell you in layman's terms what the results of the experiment were, and it's going to give you implications for things that should happen in the future. Any good article should start and end with those things. So make the bullet points, pull things out of their lit review that make sense to you, and articles that they cite, pay attention to that. Go read those articles. Get the full story on whatever it is that you're looking for. So when I start writing research papers, I have a document that sometimes is like 20, 30 pages long just with article summaries, which usually it's only like maybe a page or half a page for each article. It's not a whole lot. And I pull things, since I summarize them in my own words, into the paragraphs that I'm writing. So it makes the writing process a lot easier. And in my personal method, once I have put it into the paper, I take the bullet point out of the document. So now I'm just left with things that I haven't touched on yet. So it's easy to go one by one and start crafting out my paper and then eliminating the ideas so I don't have to go sort through all of these bullet points again. And then maybe some things I decide I don't even want to use and I get rid of them, but I make sure I covered everything that was really important to me when I was doing a literature review. So maybe this makes zero sense. Maybe this is a major aha moment, and you're going to write me into the acknowledgments of your dissertation someday. I would love you forever. But it's a general idea of what the assignment is, what FIU's library looks like, and some tips and tricks to what you need to do with articles in the future. For the assignment, I don't need you to write summaries of the articles out. You're just gonna take the link to them, not the link to them, but the title, the author, the citation for them, and put them in like 1, 2, 3 after you write everything else out. I don't need you to do anything crazy with the articles. It's just the process of you going and finding relevant ones. And then I can go and look at your articles and be like, that probably wouldn't work if you were going to do that paper. Or, oh my God, you're onto something. I'm going to steal this and research it myself. But if you have any questions about the whole research process or the FIU library, we have amazing staff who both support online and who support in person in terms of doing research and doing articles and stuff like that. Definitely reach out to them. They're always there to help you. And so am I. So I hope that this assignment is not awful and that it's actually insightful and that you're going to look for things that you actually enjoy. That's what I want. You don't have to come up with something specific. Think of things you actually enjoy, because that's where the best research is going to come. If you're not looking at something that you're going to enjoy doing or that you genuinely have a curiosity for, by the time you get to the point where you're actually running a study, you're going to be burnt out. Trust me. As somebody who picked something for a thesis that ended up not really being interesting to me, it was excruciating. Don't be me. Be a better version of me. So I'll be back on in a little bit, and I will go through the other topics for the week, but I hope this helped. So see you in a little bit.